Once in a blue moon, I've been known to host a large multiplayer world with viewers, usually with 12 to 16 players. However, I am a gamer, and my gamer mind is bored by the thought of doing just another cookie-cutter multiplayer world. So, I make a few modifications. Let's dig in. Quite literally, because this is the world spawn, a random fucking cave in the bottom right corner of the world. Slimes, wood, natural light. Now we got a chest with a few torches in it, a merchant, and a dream. The helpless players begin to trickle in, unaware of their fate. They're stuck for a moment, making server-side characters to prevent bringing in items they shouldn't have. And we just have to dig. There are no trees, no long winding caves, it's just digging. With copper pickaxes, I sell some ores to a skeleton merchant to get bombs for a tendon bow, which I cannot make because we don't have a furnace, because furnaces require wood. Not a problem though, because underground cabins have wood. We just need to find one. 20 minutes later, we've struck wood and unlock the ability to make something other than a copper pickaxe. As we ascend, I locate the shimmer. A single tile of it because, as a chaos god, I deleted all of the shimmer from the normal pool and placed a bunch of tiny pockets of it throughout the world. One tile is too small to use, so up and up we go into problem number 2. The spawn location is directly below the dungeon, and the dungeon is wide. We try our hardest to dig left, but it's just not working. The only solution is to hug the complete edge of the world and go up through the ocean. Genuinely, the dungeon almost goes to the actual edge of the world. And, an hour into the game, I've breached the surface using my inner tube to quickly ascend. And, by the surface, I mean the cavern layer, because the entire surface is actually the cavern layer. As the first one to make it here, I get the first shot at the Crimson Hearts. And wood. We can finally get a lot of wood. These Crimson Hearts are quite the benefit because they're a huge head start for getting players to high HP. Now, I'm not going to force players to try to play without an actual surface, so it's just in the middle of the sky. There's no surface desert or snow biome or anything because there's nothing in the sky. And because this world was initially generated as For the Worthy and then had the For the Worthy seed removed, all the Sky Island chests are locked. Isn't multiplayer fun? We march on to the underground desert in the Hellstone Pyramid, because what's the desert without a little heat? Highlander tries to hoik in, but completely misses and suffocates in the sand. I move on to the next Crimson to get more Crimson Hearts, find a second tile of shimmer, and come upon the Void. This world is living in the failed timeline, where the heroes were defeated and the reality cannon was fired, tearing the world asunder and completely obliterating a huge chunk of it. But that's all in the past. I stroll across to the jungle. A completely, absolutely normal jungle, which was then actuated and turned off, making it have no collision. Well, the boomstick is going to be a nightmare to obtain, so we still don't have an arms dealer, but it is Christmas, and the saving grace of Christmas present is the Red Rider, a weak gun that can be obtained from presents. We open dozens, hundreds, and never get one. We don't get an arms dealer for 4 hours. On to the eye, because this is Terraria, not America. We head on up to the surface, the actual surface, and yeah, he dies. Thankfully, with 16 players, most boss fights are a breeze. We beat up King Slime, the Brain of Cthulhu, and there's a distinct lack of old men at the dungeon, because the dungeon is not the dungeon, not as far as the old man is concerned. I've hidden him away in some evil corner of the planet where no man would dare look. The search begins. Players fan out, scouring the world. I drop hint after hint as time drags on. He's somewhere easily accessible. He's above the surface. In fact, he's above the actual surface. He's in the sky somewhere. There's really only one answer to where he could be, and somehow the 15 players could not find an old man. Whatever. Go, my Skeletron. Pay attention to this fight here. Notice anything odd? We don't have any mages, but that's not too surprising as fallen stars are quite difficult to obtain, and we've got guns now. It only took the 4 hours to get here. We might have guns, but we don't have Spectre boots. My Molten Fury doesn't have a modifier because we don't have a goblin. No Crimson Hearts means no natural goblin invasions. The only way to get one is to grind 10 cloth on the surface, and the surface is non-existent until we make it. We did actually have people trying, but there was some confusion. Goblins normally spawn in the outer parts of the world, but that location is dependent on where the world's spawn location is. So, while we'd normally be able to kill the goblins here, we actually need to kill them here. So we didn't get a goblin until day 2. In fact, we tried the wall of flesh first and got our asses kicked because the lasers are very difficult to survive without high defense in multiplayer. I have multiplayer worlds run for 3 days, 5 hours each day. We just got into hard mode 2 hours into day 2. That's almost half of our total time to play, and the start of hard mode is not halfway through the game. We need to pick up the pace a lot. The shimmer on the outside of the world was destroyed when water got poured on it, but the crimson shimmer was expanded with liquid dupe, creating a usable pool. I create Dirt Block Station, a single block of dirt on our minecart track across the sky. From the desert pylon, take the express line west until you hit Dirt Block Station, then walk straight down from there. It's simple, easy to understand, and something I had to say dozens of times because nobody remembered it. There is one upside to all this world generation weirdness. Because it's the cavern layer, the surface can be used to farm souls. I get a bunch of souls of light up there, mostly for angel wings, as other materials are tough to farm in large quantities. Time marches on. Gear is gathered, battles are won, and the hour of the mechanical bosses comes. The twins, as always, are easy enough. Multiplayer worlds have a strong advantage. You can split the twins, allowing you to fight them one at a time where they're much less dangerous. Then comes Skeletron Prime. Here's an interesting question. When fighting Skeletron Prime, is it better to go directly for his skull or eliminate his hands first? Well, common wisdom is just to go directly for the head. Killing the hands doesn't affect his head's HP or defense, and going for them just makes the fight last longer. Maybe you focus down the laser hand since that one's the most dangerous. But in a multiplayer game like this, that doesn't work well. Skeletron Prime has an obscene amount of health. You need a lot of players attacking and, more importantly, hitting their attacks. If his hands are alive, they cause players to need to move around a lot to dodge, meaning the head becomes harder to hit, and they kill a lot of players, leading to DPS downtime. It didn't work. We could not kill him before morning. But if you eliminate all of the hands, the head becomes practically harmless, and all players can lay into Skeletron at maximum strength. That is what let us win. And the Destroyer is just a big aluminum punching bag. There's pretty much nothing he can do to us after his probes are gone. I make a actuator flashbang. I make a jungle foam to help melee characters get turtle shells and then get to mining chlorophyte. And I've got a perfect strategy. By jumping into the middle of the actuated jungle and using an actuator rod beneath me, I can make small landing platforms to travel the open spaces. And my journey leads to no chlorophyte. Turns out chlorophyte cannot replace actuated mud. I did only actuate about half the jungle, so I head to the normal part to mine it. That'll let us moth. The jungle also makes building a Plantera arena a breeze since it's already wide open. Well, Plantera is a boss, so she gets steamrolled by us. You may notice that I'm actively destroying gravestones during these boss fights, and there's a very good reason for that. Gravestones are one of the most dangerous threats in Terraria, a threat to my video's visual quality. They wash out all of the colors and apply effects that don't play well with bitrate. My quest for glowing mushrooms has been cut short, as the biome I sought has been ripped out by the firing of the reality cannon. So I head about a minute to the right to one that has not been reality cannoned, Shromite obtained, sniper rifle obtained, and with the lost connection, what the hell do you mean? So somehow, by losing my connection, the server allowed 17 players to join instead. No idea how that works, but it's time for goal 1,574,000 health? Why his health bar can't do that? What? Okay, turns out that was a visual glitch and it fixed itself eventually. He only has a little under 1,000,000 HP, much more reasonable. But Golem doesn't go down without a fight. He's one of the toughest multiplayer bosses, for good reason. He gets faster for every player and his head can do this. It's because Golem has an enraged mode in Phase 2 that occurs whenever blocks separate the player from the body. If that ever happens, you have fucked up. And you will immediately know it. I'm not entirely sure why it happened here, maybe he aggroed to a person in a respawn house, but he damn near wipes us out for it. We do have 17 players though, so we kill him, and I can finally get rid of this damn gravy problem. Duke Fishron needs to be fought in the ocean, and our ocean is in the cavern layer. Solution: we can bring him to the sky surface. His enraging is based on distance from the edge of the world, not ocean status. Problem: our pool of water is not big enough to summon him. Solution: he can be summoned at any depth near the edge of the world, we just need to bring him up. Problem: someone summoned the Empress of Light. Solution: die. Problem: this will enrage Duke Fishron until he gets up to the surface. Solution: there isn't really a solution, I just die. But that gets him close enough to the surface where he will not be doing 400 damage per hit. We kill him, but not before he creates my mortal enemy, a graveyard. Now I can show off the sniper rifle. Combined with Shroomite stealth, it will shred through targets in a straight line. Hell, it can safely kill nailheads without them ever coming within range. The only dangers here are Izors, lasers are quite inconvenient and make you break stealth, Mothrons, and holy shit, why is it so fast? I'd like to do the old one's army. The armor sets are great, the weapons are great, and we should have the time. There is only one thing, one single thing in the entire game that could stop us. If a Martian invasion gets triggered, we will not have the time. I know probes can spawn, so I tell everyone to get up there and to make absolutely sure that they don't let them spawn. Naturally, Martians invaded 2 minutes later. And then the Empress of Light gets summoned. It's not a big deal, just means we won't do the old one's army. The Empress despawns naturally and Martians go down without much trouble. Only 45 minutes left now, so we need to move on to the cultist. I send everyone over to the dungeon island and, again, make it clear to leave them alive until everyone gets there. You might be thinking, oh, somebody is just trying to throw, they're intentionally griefing. No, they're not. Playing multiplayer is just like wrangling a kindergarten class. Oh, okay, class, can you have nap time and sleep in beds? No. Can we all go to the underground, press the Eternia crystal button, and put the Defender medals in a chest to the right of spawn? No. Would you do it after being reminded dozens of times? No. Can I ask everyone to gather by the Old One's Army arena and be very careful not to summon Martians? No. Little Timmy sees a pretty glowing butterfly and shoots it. Twice. Billy pours his juice box on the tiny amount of shimmer that we have, then floods spawn by digging straight up into water. The entire class can't remember to go to Dirt Block Station west of the desert pylon. Can you sit still while the teacher leaves the classroom for a moment? No, they draw fucking summoning circles and bring a cultist back into the class by the time you get back. But it's not something that makes me angry or upset because you don't expect a kindergarten class to do any better. There's no malice, they're all accidents, it's just tiring, which is why I don't do multiplayer that often. Regardless, it's time for the pillars. Having pillars floating in giant open areas, sucks. It's pretty awful. The solar pillar is an absolute nightmare. I can't even make it to the vortex pillar. With 15 players though, we can kinda just throw ourselves at them until they die. I use the greatest weakness of the nebula pillar and take one final step before summoning the Moon Lord. We add a 16th player joining the world for the first time. Say hi to Neskri, everyone. Here you go, buddy. You can have my broom, some tiki armor, and life crystals. Figure out the rest. Because while it might be tiring doing multiplayer sometimes, I'm not going to say no to someone that wants to play, regardless of how late they're joining. Back to the surface to finish. You do not have permission to hurt town NPCs. You do not have permission. Weird T-Shock bug, damage from the Moonlord counts as the player hurting town NPCs for some reason. I fix it, and the Moonlord does have 3.3 million HP, sure, but it's just a long version of the normal fight. It's pretty crowded and hectic, my arch-nemesis Graveyard comes back from the dead, and I do my best to lead away the True Eyes in his second phase. Guys, there are no True Eyes here. He can't do anything. You're not dodging anything. You can just sit still and attack him. Alright, we got him. Couldn't have done it without you, Neskri.